Hey, it's Matt with RackForms. In this video, we're going to take a look at something that's oddly complicated. It should be simple, but unfortunately it's just not, and that is using a date-time value to query a database date value as we see here. So in other words, I have a calendar field, and I want to use this then to select a date. So let's kind of take a look at the general interface here. So I have this date select right here. As far as the date field itself is concerned, I have set a date time object to just display the format as the raw date. So in this case, 4/5/2018. So month, day, and year. When I do this, I will get something like this. So I'll select today, so month, day, year. And then when I hit submit, then I would expect this to go in and actually perform a select statement. Now I've actually got this set up two separate ways. One to actually take a look at a builder page, and then one to perform a database query. And so the submit property of this page is going to determine where we go. Right now we're going to go to page1.php. So that's this guy right here. So we're going to be performing the SQL lookup on the query item. Though it is important to note that this is going to work as a technique the same on builder pages. So everything that we're about to see right here would work the same as if we're going to go for like a master detail page from a calendar field and then use that to filter based on some builder page that we're building. But for now, we're just going to stick with the query item on this form page because it's a little bit easier to see the end result. So essentially what I'm going to do then is I'm going to press submit, and we're going to go to this page, and then I want to then pull any records from the DT field, so this guy right here, that have the matching date of today. So right now 8/7 doesn't actually match anybody, so we're actually not going to see a result. But if I were to change this to 8/7 in my database, I now get a result back. So we kind of prove to ourselves here that this is working. I know that my 8/7 value is returning result. But here's the interesting thing. You'll notice now when I go into my database here that this is a date time type field. So in fact, if I were to go into the structure of this table, the DT field is date time. And what's interesting about date time is this includes more than just the date. It includes the time as well. And so if we're going to perform a database query and we just want to select a specific day, I can't unfortunately use this field without some manipulation. In other words, this date time field right here. And that's what this code block is. Now the good thing is, and I'm going to say this as hopefully as confidently and clear as I can, is that you don't have to think about anything that we're about to do here. All you'll need to do is just copy the code that you'll see in the description of this video or from the job file if you're watching this from the video from the job itself. And you'll just know that if you use the same technique on your SQL, as we're about to use right here, that this will just work. But I do want to explain this in case you need to modify this. So basically what we got going on here is I have a couple different var dumps that I'm performing. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to show you the various attributes of what I'm actually performing when I manipulate this result. Now the first thing that we have going on is it says sortable page header and it says 8/7/2019. So that is this guy right here, and I'm just taking the raw value from the datetime field and I'm just printing it using a token. So if you haven't seen this before, the F token means it's a form field, and the field that I'm going to print is called datetime. So date, capital D, capital T, time, that's the field I'm going to show right here. So it just shows this is the date that I selected. Of course, if I select a different date, it's going to show a different value. So it just says 8/1 now. Now, that said, we then go into our code item right here, our custom code block. If you never added these before, they're under layout, and they just allow us to write any code that we want into our form. And the code basically looks something like this. So the first thing I do is I'm going to create a local PHP variable called D, and to that I'm going to assign the FR token of datetime. So we saw the F token right here. This means form field. Form field raw is what this guy stands for. There's an R on the end of this, and this just means don't put any of the code that we'd usually put onto the standard token. Unfortunately, there is a difference because we're writing raw PHP code right here. Notice the PHP open and close blocks right here. I do need to make sure that RackForms uses the appropriate token. So that's what the FR stands for. All this is going to do though is just going to create a variable called D that is the string value of this field. And indeed we can see that the first var dump that we have is a string of length 10. So nothing crazy here. It's just literally the same value I have right here. Then I'm going to go in, I'm going to use an internal PHP function called string to time. I'm going to pass it this string, and I'm also going to do a var dump. And then you can see var dump here then gets me the Unix time for that particular date. So this is now a number. Notice it is of type int. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that time variable, so it is an integer, and I'm going to create two PHP variables, new format A and B, and to it I'm going to pass the formatted time using year, month, day, and then 000 for the time, and year, month, day, and 235959 for the time right here. If you've got a little suspicion here, you're probably right. This is creating a time span. We're essentially saying we're taking the raw date format from this guy right here, and we're just saying, create me two date strings that have year, month, day, and then 000. In other words, the start of the day and then the end of the day. And then we do two var dumps on that, and you can see now that that's indeed what we got. So I have 2019-8-1-000. So in other words, the start of the day, and then I have a second one, which is the end of the day. So these then are the two variables that I'm going to use in my SQL query. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because of this right here. So essentially what we're saying when we perform a database query is we're going to select all from FBDemo where date time is between some value and some value. And the value that I'm actually passing then is new format A and B. And as you can see here, this is then the raw SQL that will be generated. Select all from FBDemo where date time between 2019-801-000 and 2019-801-2359-59. And then because I'm using my variables to say actually replace these question marks with the actual values right here, we actually get a working result. Again, nothing here again because I don't have an 8.1, but if I pass 8.1 back to the database, I will now get that result. So that's basically how it works. And again, I wish there's a simple way of doing this, but unfortunately it's strangely difficult. When we have a date time field, it includes a time parameter, and the time parameter is going to essentially block anything that doesn't use a between on it. We have to say, go between these two dates. Now, there are probably other ways of doing this using date add and whatnot, but it's probably not very fast to do that using date arithmetic. I think this is probably the fastest way, so if you need to do it, usually I would suggest doing it this way. Now again, to be clear, this kind of layout that we see right here where I have a field and I'm passing it to a custom code block that is at the end of the day just generating two variables, this is all going to also work for Builder. So in Builder, we don't actually have an SQL variables box. We just pass everything inline, and this is the way that would look. So again, I'm selecting a couple columns from the FBDemo table where date time is between new format A and new format B. So that's basically it. So questions, comments, as always, please let us know at info@rackforms.com, and thanks for watching.